Okay, welcome back, everyone. As we are learning Daf Chai Tzim Leben. Chai is a schus that we should all be gesund and we should all be able to learn with complete cognitive abilities, something that nobody should take for granted. As Dr. Block, I'm sure, can tell you case after case of how that's something that should never be taken for granted. We are holding on the bottom. Imagine, we just started Bava Basra and we're already up to Daf 18. It's amazing. That's Daf Yomi.
Can I give you a name for your Nishmas, please?
Yes.
My wife has your site for her father, Falak Ben Herzka, please. Thank you.
Falak Ben Herzka?
Yes.
Falak Ben Herzka, Mrs. Holtzman's father, Yotzeit tonight, and Neshama should have an aliyah, should be a Melitz Yoshev for his family and have a Lichtige Gan Eden. Okay, we're holding on the bottom line of Daf Yud Zayin on the base. Tojma, Marchikin es Agefes, we learn in the Mishnah you have to distance peat, which is the residue of olive, es zevel, and manure, ves melech, and salt, ves sid, and lime, ves slum, and flint stones. All of these things generate heat. Mikaisloi shel chavera gimel tvachim, from the wall of one's chaver 3 tvachim. So that implies oisad b'sid, or coat it with lime. So that implies that it's only if the wall was there. Taimadika kaisel. Haleka kaisel saimach. If there's no wall there, then he's allowed to put it all the way up to the border. So that's a kasha on Rava. Says the Gemara, loy, kileka kaisel nami loy samach. Even if there's no wall there, he can't put it there. But ve'alamai kamash malan. So then, why does it say the wall? Ha kamash malan dahani koshu lekaisel. That these are no good for a kaisel. Now you'll say, what's the difference? If you're not allowed to put it there, even if there's no kaisel there, what's the difference that these are no good for the kaisel? And Taisus explains the nafkamina is in a wall, in a place where you're not able to put up a wall. Let's say it's very soft ground, so a wall wouldn't be able to be put up. Then you're allowed to do it there. Another kasha that Taisus asks, which is an obvious question, is I don't understand. If the wall isn't there, put it there and say that when the wall is put there, then you'll take it away. And the answer is these piles of stuff are not easy to remove. And therefore you're not allowed to put it there beforehand, because then you will not remove it quickly enough when the wall is built. Tajma, marchikim es azram, you distance seeds, ves macharisha, and plows, ves meiraglaim, plowing, and urine, menakaisel shloishet tvachim. Now, again, the question is, this implies Taimadika Kaisel. It's only because there's a wall there. Haleka Kaisel Saimech. But if there's no wall there, then you could put it there. So that's a kasha on Rava, who says you're not allowed to put it by the border even before the wall is there. Says the Gemara, it's not a kasha. Loi. Kileka Kaisel Nami Loi Samach. Even if the wall isn't there, you still can't be Saimech. What's the chiddush? That moisture is no good for the wall. As we remember, we explained that all these things have moisture. The urine, of course, has moisture. The seeds are watered, and so too when you plow, it's going to grow, and you're going to eventually water it. Tajma, as we welcome in Yisrael Kaplan, as we welcome in Mo Kushner. And for both of you, we are holding on Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph, and we are moving at a very great clip over here, 10 lines from the top of Daf Yud Ches Amud Aleph. As Mark says, slow down, Rabbi Weiss, otherwise my wife won't believe that I went to share. I know. Then she said, we could have gone out for ice cream. You weren't learning anyway. And Eddie is probably now in Honolulu. Now, he's in Carolina. He's in Carolina. Anyway, Tajma, Esareichayim, a mill, Gimel min ashkav, 3 from the bottom track, Shein Daled min harachav, which is 4 tvachim from the upper stone, that's indented a tefach. But that implies only if there's a wall there. Time Nika Kaisel, Aleka Kaisel Samach, which again would be a kash on Rava. So the Gemara says, like, Kileka Kaisel Nami Loi Samach, even if there's no wall there, Velamai Kamash Malana, Kamash Malan, the Turya, the vibrations are kashal Kaisel. Tajma, Vesataner, the oven, Shloishim and Akalya, 3 from the base, Shein Dalim and Asafa. Again, asked the Gemara, time Nika Kaisel, it's only because there's a wall there, Haleka Kaisel Samach. Says, well, like, Kileka Kaisel Nami Loi Samach. Elamai Kamashmon, not Kamashmon, the Havla, the heat generated by the oven, is kosher l'kais. Tajma, lo yiftach adam chanois shel naftoimim, a person is not allowed to open up a bakery, or v'shel tzavoin, or dye shop, tachas oitzorei shel chaveroi. If on the second floor, somebody has a storage shed for food, v'loi refes baker, nor can you put on the first floor a stable, because the smell of the animals and the smoke generated by the bakery and the dye shop will not be good for the oitzer. Now, but ask the Gemara, Taima the Ika oitzer. It's only because there's an oitzer there. There was pre-existing a storage place for crops. Holeka oitzer of it. Says, well, you're right. Even Rava will agree to that. Why? Because Dira Shani, when you own a residence on the first floor, it's normal to put over there a bakery or put there a dye shop. So you're only not allowed to do it if the person has already a pre-existing oitzer. Dekanami ditani Allah im oitzer refes baker kaidemes oitzer. If the stable was first, then it's mutter. Tajma. Now we're going to go to the tree business, the roots of the tree. Tajma. Lo yita adam ilam samach l'sada. A person should not plant a tree. Mark can't plant a tree next to Yitzi's field. Elim kein hirchik mimenu daled amas. Now here it means that he has to distance 4 amas in order that the avoida around the vines, because you need to do work around the vines, and you don't want to encroach into Yitzi's property. So lo yita adam ilan samach l'sada elam kein hirchik mimenu daled amas. V'tani Allah daled amas she'amru k'dei avodas hakerem. So the implication is time of the mishum k'dei avodas hakerem. It's only because he needs room to work around the vines. Holav mishum k'dei avodas hakerem samach. V'afal gav de'ika shroshim, even though there's roots from the tree, the kamaski, that go into Yitzi's field and do damage. Says Gemara, no, we're not worried about damage from the roots, because what happens is there's a boulder, there's a rock wall that goes under the ground and will block the roots from invading Yitzi's field. Says the Gemara, on the mafsik tsunama, there's a rock there. If there's a fence between them, each one could go up to the fence. Says Gemara, if Mark's roots invade Yitzi's property, he could dig deep. Yitzi could uproot the roots 3 tvachim, so that the roots shouldn't disturb the plow. But if there is a boulder, then how could the roots be there? My bias says, well, no, it's telling you, if there was no boulder, and Mark illegally went up to the property line, and and the roots invaded Yitzi's property, he could dig down 3 tvachim and uproot the roots. And now we're going to learn about the tree and the bar. You have to distance a tree from a bar 25 amas in order that the roots shouldn't invade the walls of the bar. Now that implies time of the ikabar. It's only if there's a bar there. Haleka bar samach. If there's no bar, you could do it, which is a kash on Rava. Says, well, like kileka bar, nami loy samach. But the chiddush is that it's telling us that the roots travel 25 amas. Welcome Ashmalan, the ad chafei amma until 25 amas. Ozrei shroshim, the roots will go umaske the bar. Ihachi says, ema seifa. V'im ilon kadam, but if the tree was there first, lo yakutz. But if you say that you're not allowed to plant a tree there, even if the bar wasn't there yet, like Rava, so then why don't you have to cut down the tree? V'idoloi samech, if you're not allowed to put a tree there because even if the bar isn't there, heichi mishkachasla, how could the tree be there legally? It says if the tree was there before the bar, if the tree was there before the bar, so we want to welcome in Philippe. Tomorrow you're going to Israel, Philippe?
Correct. My flight's at 1:30. I'm making Aliyah, so I thought I would at least have a good day of my last day of attendance.
Well, everybody from this year wishes you with all their heart a safe trip and a hatzlacha move and a great life in Eretz Yisrael.
Thank you. I hope I can stay on the true derech there. I'm afraid of falling off, so God willing, I'll stay on the straight and narrow.
Amen, amen, and visit us whenever you can.
Obviously, Rabbi. Thank you. Goes without saying. Thank you very much. Amen.
So now, the Gemara asks, as Philippe, we're towards the bottom of Yud Ches Amud Aleph, and now the Gemara asks, we are now at 27 Zoomers for this Matzah Shabbos. We're missing Marshall. I don't know where Marshall is. He didn't see Mark on Thursday, so it wasn't interesting. I don't know. Mark, there's a lot of responsibilities when you don't come. I mean, it's like it's not kedai not to come. And now everybody's going to have to work harder to make up for the absence of Philippe. We need a lot of people to replace Philippe. Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, if you're not allowed to put the tree there, even if Yitzi's bar is not there, so how could the tree be v'idolei samach heichi mishkachas? Says the Gemara, you know what happened? Mark bought land that the tree was there when he bought land from Eddie. And when Eddie had it, Eddie owned a lot of property past the tree. So his tree was there legally. Then he sold the rest of the property to Yitzi. But the tree was there at the property line legally, because when Mark bought it, it was all Eddie's, even 25 amas after the tree. Now, Rabbi say we learn the sugya. Now we learn the sugya of chardal. Now I will tell you the sugya of chardal. It has many complexities, which we will not go into. On the surface level, it seems pretty straightforward, but you should just know that many deep shiurim were written on this piece of Gemara. Tajma, marchikin es hamishra min hayerek. If Mark has a pool that he steeps flax in, which is very foul, he has to distance it from Yitzi's vegetables, vesakrishin min aptzolim, and leeks from onions, vesachardel min advoirim, and mustard from Yitzi's bees, he has to distance it. Now, why does he have to distance mustard from bees? because we're worried that Yitzi's bees will eat from the mustard, and since it's so bitter, the bee will eat up its own honey. And then Yitzi will say, here, I pay my children's tuition from that honey. So what do you think you're doing, Mark? Child abuse. So says the Gemara, so this is again a kash on Rava. Time adiki yerek. It's only because Yitzi has vegetables there. Holeki yerek samach. So the Gemara says, look, ki leki yerek nami loy samach. Even if there's no vegetables there, he can't put the flax there. That the flax, steeping flax, is no good for the vegetables. Yachi asked the Gemara, Ema Sefer, Rabbi Yossi matel bechardel. Rabbi Yossi permits the mustard. Why? Because he could tell Yitzi, before you tell me that I should distance my mustard from your bees, because I'm the mazik. Take your bees away from my mustard. Why? Because your bees are going to consume my mustard seeds. Now, but if it's true that the first one is not allowed to put it there, so then what kind of idoloi samech if nobody is allowed to put it by the boundary, even before the other is there? So heichi mishkachasla, how do you have a case where Yitzi could have the bees there first and say, don't put your mustard, because before you don't put your mustard there, because before you tell me, or the other way around, why could Mark say, don't put your bees there? He'll say, before you tell me my bees are attacking your mustard, the other way around. Yeah. In other words, we're saying if Mark's mustard if Yitzi's bees are there first, and Mark wants to put his mustard there, and so Rabbi Yossi says Mark could tell Yitzi, before you tell me distance my mustard from your bees, I'll tell you distance your bees from my mustard, because they're going to eat my mustard seeds. So we're both a mazik. But if the halacha is, as we start the top of Yud Ches Amid Beis, v'idoloi samech, if the first one, namely Yitzi, can't put his bees next to the border, then heichi mishkachas. So how would you have a case where there's a problem of the next person planting his mustard? Rav Papa, so Rav Papa says, B'lokeach. It's where Yitzi bought it from someone who had the bees and a whole area after the bees, so it was there legally. So the Gemara says that if it's a buyer, then my time of the Rabbanan. Then what's the reason of the Rabbanan that if it was there legally, so then why should he be able to tell him to distance the bees? Why my time of the Rabbi Yossi? What's the reason of Rabbi Yossi? If Rabbi Yossi says that, why does Rabbi Yossi only argue? The Gemara assumes that Rabbi Yossi holds that it's on the nizik to distance himself. So if it's on the nizik to distance himself, so then he should argue also on the flax, and he should say, don't tell me to distance. Don't tell me to distance my flax. You distance your seeds. Says the Gemara, my time in the Rabbi Yossi, afilu mishri v'yarkanami. He should argue on the flax and the seeds. If he holds that it's on the nizik to distance himself, so Mark will say, look, if you don't want to get damaged, I'm doing my flax on my property. If you don't want to get damaged, move away. So Amar Ravina, Kasave Rabbanan alamazik laharchik esatzmai. It's the Rabbanan hold that it's on the mazik to distance himself, and that's why the guy with the flax has to distance himself, and the guy with the chardal has to distance himself because the bees eat the mustard and then eat their own honey. Says the Gemara, Mechlal Rabbi Yossi Saval Nizik laharchik esatzmai. That doesn't answer it, as we explained. Iyal nizik afilu mishra yarkanami. But Rabbi Yossi doesn't argue on the case of the steeping flax. There he says the Mark has to distance his flax. El Halaylam says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi nami ala mazik sfirulei. It's on the mazik to distance himself. V'achi kamalu rabbanan Rabbi Yossi rabbanan. Tinach mishra v'yarka. By the flax and the vegetables, Mark is the mazik. Yitzi plants vegetables. His zucchini is not that bothering anybody. So, tinach mishra yarka, the honey maske, the flax damages, the honey loy maske. The honey loy maske honey. Elachardal udvorim, nobody can tell to anybody because they're both mazikim. Travayu maske adodi, because the bees eat the mustard, and the mustard causes the bees to eat their honey. The Rabbanan don't agree with that. The Rabbanan hold that the bees don't damage the mustard. Rabbanan devoirim lechardo loy maskele. The bees don't damage the mustard. Why? Because iba binsa, the seeds are deep in the mustard, and the bees don't find the seeds. Loy mishkachale. Tarfa, and if it's the leaves of the mustard, if the bees eat them, they grow back. Hadapare. So the Gemara says your assumption is not good. Does Rabbi Yossi hold it's upon the mazik to distance himself? That's not true. Even if Yitzi's bar was there before Mark's tree, lo yakitz. Mark doesn't have to cut his tree down, even though if it was within 25 amas of Yitzi's bar. Why? Yitzi digs in his own property, and Mark plants in his own property. If Yitzi doesn't like it, he should distance his bar. So you see that Rabbi Yossi holds ala nizik la'archik esatzmai. He holds that if you're getting damaged, you got to move away, and therefore he should argue even on the steeping flax. He's only playing devil's advocate. He's only saying, according to you, and therefore Mark could even put his flax next to the border. You could put the flax next to the border too. According to you, that you say alamazik, okay, that's good by the flax. The flax, the vegetables, the honey maske honey, because the flax damages the vegetables. The honey maske honey, the zucchini doesn't do anything to the flax. But the mustard and the bees, they attack each other. They attack each other. The bees eat the mustard, and the mustard causes the bees to eat the honey. Rabbanan say no. The bees don't do anything to the mustard. The bees don't do anything to the mustard. Iba binsa, because if it's the seeds, they don't reach the seeds. Like Iba tarfa, and if it's the leaves, they'll grow back. Wow, we did it under an hour, 2 blocks, as we are at 56 minutes, and